Hey there, friends, and welcome back to another 3-Minute Thoughts. My name is Derek, and in the next 3 minutes, we're going to dig into Leviticus chapters 19 through 21. Again, we're continuing through some of these sacrificial things and markers of what sin looks like and why it's so important that we stay away from sinful behavior and have the proper understanding of sacrifice. In Leviticus chapter 19, God is going to lay out what it means to be holy in everyday life. This chapter is going to cover everything from respecting parents and caring for the poor to honest business practices and even sexual purity. It's where we find that famous command, love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus is later going to call this one of the greatest commandments, demonstrating that, it's not just obedience to God, but it's also how we live out our lives every day that matter. So holiness isn't just about rituals and rites like we talked about last time we were together. It's about how we live out our lives, how we treat people, how we live with integrity and reflect God's character in even the smallest details of life. Then in chapter 20, we're going to focus on the fact that consequences of sin are pretty serious. Sin is not just a slap on the wrist. It actually is a separation from God. God here warns against things like child sacrifice, sexual immorality, and involvement with the occult. Now, these things we shouldn't have to warn against, but yet we do. It's kind of like the hot coffee thing, right? You shouldn't have to put a label on a cup of coffee that says, "Oh, by the way, the hot coffee you ordered is going to be hot." But here we are. So these sins, right? Sexual immorality, child sacrifice, involvement in the occult and such, they bring death. Sometimes literally, right? Sometimes people actually die, but also there's a spiritual death, a deep down inside death, a separation from God kind of death. The message is pretty clear. Sin defiles an individual and the community in which they live. Israel is called to be set apart, holy, not being corrupted by culture. And yet it's easy to become part of culture. God calls his followers to stand out. Chapter 21, God raises the holiness standard a little bit higher for priests. Since they serve in God's presence, they must remain ceremonially clean, avoiding anything that could cause them to be defiled in any way. Stay away from death and improper marriages and physical defects and all those things, right? This isn't God rejecting the weak. It's about demonstrating that he is perfect and holy, and he holds his priests to a higher standard. All right, so if we were to summarize these chapters, they're a reminder that holiness isn't just about avoiding sin. It's actually about reflecting God's love, justice, and integrity throughout our everyday lives. Jesus, then, being our ultimate high priest, makes us holy through his sacrifice when we are unable to live such. That's it for today. Be well, friends.